It's day 144. It's also about 4:30 in the morning, and I can't sleep. Don't know why I can't sleep. How's everybody else doing with their sleep patterns? Seems to be a bit, after the initial trauma and panic of COVID, my body is not always ready to go to bed and have a full night's sleep at the end of the day. I wanted to speak a little more about yesterday's subject of not performing online specifically, because I've had loads of messages from people and comments, both public and private, and it's obviously struck a chord with people. I was sent a message from a colleague who puts on shows and has used me a number of times. Nice guy, like working with him, and he's going to do an online thing, which I don't think I want to do, given what I said yesterday. That won't be a surprise to hear. But in one of our messages, they said something along the lines of that he was looking for cabaret acts that didn't need an audience's reaction. And the thing is that my contention about cabaret is that there's no such thing. When I work in cabaret, and what makes it cabaret is the lack of fourth wall between the audience and the performer. And for those of you that don't know what a fourth wall is, it's a theatrical device, the fourth wall, and it can either be in or out, or there isn't a fourth wall. And in cabaret, there is no fourth wall, and this is shared with pantomime. You shout out, people get brought up on stage, you will get asked direct questions, perhaps by the dame. Stand-up comedy has no fourth wall. Some Shakespeare, depending on who the characters are, whether they're a baddie or whether they're the lovers, there is no fourth wall. But not full shows, not full productions. Bertolt Brecht's type of theatre is very common for sort of asking direct questions of the audience and making it clear that at all times, wherever possible, that you were watching a piece of theatre. And all of those things involve there being no fourth wall, no ignoring the existence of the audience whilst 2 or 3 or 4 characters, or whatever it might be, do what they do. And we can think of that in the same terms for singers with cabaret. So, for example, you might go and see Barbra Streisand, and she might be astonishing and sing everything perfectly and all the great songs you wanted to hear and look amazing and have this big orchestra behind her and have some patter, have some shtick and talk in between the songs. But if there, and I'm not trying to pick on Barbara particularly, she just came to mind, but if there is a sort of a veneer, if there is a distance between you and them, then there's a strong chance that there's a fourth wall been put up. It's see-through, it's almost like a perforated line that you can choose to keep or not, like ripping off a piece of kitchen towel. And can Barbra Streisand work without a fourth wall? I don't know. Probably she might have got so big, and then she might now work in such big stages that she can't, or chooses not to. But there might well have been a time in the early days, in the 50s in America, when she was working on the cafe club scene, where she would have had to work without a fourth wall because audiences were sat there basically on her lap, and you have to deal with lo-fi, bad tech, all of those things that we have to deal with in cabaret. And that's what makes you learn a tremendous amount about yourself, other human beings, and theatre. And not having a fourth wall is very, very scary and very rewarding if you can learn how to do it and sort of harness that energy somehow. And anyway, I just thought I should explain a little bit about more about my feelings about not performing on stage, online at the moment, because the idea that there is any kind of cabaret actor out there that doesn't rely on reaction from the audience, I think is a very simplified way of looking at cabaret, and it's not the way I do it. Not my way. I know there's many ways. There's very, very successful cabaret acts that have been going for decades who practically ignore the audience for the entire time. And they call themselves cabaret, and I think they're very lovely. I'm very fond of these acts, but it's not my version, which I guess is why I'm hesitating. For all that and many other reasons, but we'll talk about that tomorrow, if we're saved.